made up my mind to keep from loving you. Oh, something and something. I can't stop loving you. I can't stop loving my Magnavox 1965 Astrosonic stereo console. RAM. Okay, Missy Jen gets mad. I'm playing this thing all the time. All right, tough guy. Thing needs a little bit of work. This thing doesn't jack down properly when you start it up, but it's all fun and shenanigans, guys. And welcome to Time Wasters on a Friday. It's a gloriously sunny day. Hello, Missy Jen. You turn it up so we can hear? Turn it up. We got wisdom from Mallory Williams. Ooh, I had you turned out of the picture.
That's empty. Beyond that, I'm sure she's a
there
sweet, lovely lady.
Love Mallory Williams, smart gal. And,
time,
you know, a lot of people would say, Rosie, you should spend time with her.
Enough is enough. Honestly,
she might
he's not that interested.
rub off on you.
He just
huh?
isn't.
Well, she says the things that
There is
sometimes we
nothing
like to say,
about
which
this
is...
She just speaks,
that
she
can
speaks
benefit
sense,
any one
and
of us.
yeah,
In any way.
she's excelente, and yeah, she can bikini up and come
Plain
down
and simple.
to the rancho
Isn't
and
it?
hang
As
out.
far as
Yeah,
the
like I
well-wishes,
said, and Missy
you know,
Jen, we're getting
they're
Valentine's Day
absolute.
Sunday.
You know, well,
Huh?
I'm not going to participate
And I see over
anymore.
here.
I'm not going to defend him anymore. But you know what? I really
To
wish
my
you best friend.
Valentine, the Rosie girl, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, your Rosie girl's okay. You've been here almost 2 years now, huh?
It's
You haven't
almost 2 years.
signed over almost.
Those are no's.
You've signed
See.
over 22 disability checks. You've
22
signed.
disability checks,
And it's,
yeah.
some days it's not even worth it, is it? To be here, you work like a dog, right?
Yeah, I
And,
still got shit to
still got shit to do
stuff
today.
to
The
do,
list
yeah.
is on the refrigerator
Right,
over there,
yeah, I
right?
still got 10 items to do.
That's it. So I give you I give you an hour off between 2
yeah.
o'clock and well, it's a short hour. I
Yeah.
give you 50 minutes off the
Yeah,
clock.
50
so
minutes.
you're happy. So life is good, huh? When
Life
you get
is
a 50-minute
good,
break
that's right.
every 12 hours, it's
Yeah,
a good thing.
it's
All right,
not
honey,
bad,
carry on, guys. There's the computer that got rescued right there. Turn that upside down. There's the computer that we got working last night. And thanks again, you guys, to all the people that hey, screwing around with the dog is not on the rest agenda, okay? So, just, huh? What?
¿Cómo está?
What? Huh?
No
What are you doing anyway? It's going to be a glorious weekend, guys. Come on outside. Look at this, Missy Jen. We were outside. You know what? The Rosie girl has already cut the grass out here today. How about that? Looking good, huh? Enjoy it while it lasts, because once the rainy season's over, in 3 weeks this will be dry as a bone, but maybe we'll be able to keep a little grass cover on it. Doesn't it look glorious out here? Wow, it's like 78 degrees today, guys. Now, let's go in and see what we're doing, a little time waster. A lot of people write me and say, Rosie, what's the deal on you're always buying junk and fixing it up? And most times things are very easy when it comes to fixing up. A case in point is this HeathKit signal tracer. Now, years ago when I was a kid, oh wow, I mean, I love to get HeathKit things. I built this AM FM stereo receiver that I got for a really nice present from my parents one year. We didn't have a lot, but one year we made out like bandits. And it was always fun to assemble the kits, and if you were good with a soldering iron and things, it could be a lot of fun. If you weren't, well, you had a project that you could destroy. And this seems to be one that it's kind of been through the mill. You can see it's got a few bent screw downs here for contacts and things. I don't know, looks like this thing got dropped pretty hard. somehow or another there. But anyway, we're going to try to see if we can get this going. And one of the things that you'll discover, and these things go for $50, $80 when they're working, and of course this one's not working here. And you say, what is a signal tracer used for? This thing, you can actually clip this grounding lead. You don't see many people use these anymore. This is old school stuff. They'll clip this grounding lead onto the chassis, and then you can go around and probe the signal path here, and it'll come through the speaker. In other words, you tune to maybe it'll be picking up a station or something like that, and you can actually follow that signal from point to point into the IF cans, into capacitors and that kind of stuff. Maybe the signal comes in nice on one side, and the other side it's hella weak, and it tells you something's wrong with that component. So it's an old school way of doing things, but it works really well. And when these things come up on eBay, I got this one from Canada for not a hell of a lot of money, but if you can get them working okay, they're quite a valuable piece of equipment. They got a built-in speaker to amplify the signal as you put it through, so you don't have to have speakers hooked up and things like that. It'll just blow that signal right through the speaker. So the big issue, and the thing that people wonder, why do you buy stuff that's not working? Well, one of the reasons is that I've talked about before, when things go bad with most electronic devices, it's usually a mechanical interface that's responsible for it. In other words, it's not usually the electronic components, because they just sit there for the most part. But it's like tubes and things in them. Tubes are sometimes kind of delicate, but it's often like electric cords that plug in and plug out, and such is the case with this. When I got this unit and plugged it in, as you'll see, it's really dead. Okay, nothing's going on. And so you want to start with the simple things, and I'd like to try to get this thing operating, or at least get some sign of life in it. Because as it is, if I plug it in now, and I put it on the Variac, and I power it up, and remember, this is electronics, this has tubes in it. You want to be damn careful. If you don't know what you're doing, don't muck with it. You turn it on, and you always, no matter what, with tube and high voltage stuff, you always want to keep one hand in your pocket and never touch the unit with two hands. Well, now it's working. It's turned on now, and the reason is because this cord, hear that? Now it's going off. You know why? Because this thing has a bad plug on it. And why does it have a bad plug? Because this was plugged probably in and out. This was probably used in a TV or radio repair shop. I think this unit came out in the late 50s or up to the mid 60s, and this thing was probably used a lot. It was one of the most valuable pieces of equipment that you could have in a shop. So it gets plugged in and take it out. You take it with you on repair jobs. You plug it into the customer's place. You try tracing the signal through the TV, blah blah blah. Well, this plug, as soon as I got this thing and felt it, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see it here, but it was way too loose up here. And of course, these things are never grounded. I do have a grounded one. It's okay. We won't use the ground terminal on it, but I did have a replacement plug sitting here. So we're going to switch that out so we get we don't have that intermittency that's on here. So okay, going to go ahead and do that now, and hopefully we'll get some stability to it instead of cutting on and off. That's the HeathKit signal tracer. Somebody bought it in a kit form and put it together, and the cool thing is too, it has that eye tube that opens and closes with the strength of the signal coming through, so that's pretty cool too. But again, my caution, if you don't know what you're doing with electronics, watch and enjoy, but don't do it yourself. You certainly don't want to get shocked. So we're going to cut that off, And we're going to put the new cord on and see what we get. I told you guys I love these. I really do kind of like these modern style replacement plugs that they sell. They're so much better than the way they used to be. They're a lot easier to hook up, and of course you'll see one of them is silver, which is for the generally for the neutral. If you were going to do a grounded hot and power, which would be black, white, and green, the silver one would be for the white, which is a neutral wire, which is like your return. The brass colored, yellowish brass, brings the power in. And of course green is generally your ground, so we're not going to be using the ground. And since we're doing a 2-wire hookup, the polarity is not going to really matter about the silver or gold here. So it's simply a matter of I'm not going to need dikes for this. This is not really a heavy plug. It's just a simple matter of cutting the end of that, putting a little starter right down there. We'll shoot this through the back here. Okay. Which reminds me of the days when I used to work at the Western Electric apparatus shop in Baltimore way back in the 1970s during college. And this is there we go. You want to have a nice neat assembly here. And we'll get our pliers out and we'll make sure that that's good and neat. It takes a couple goes. This is pretty heavy material here. And then we can just shoot that on the back. We'll get that twisted, make sure they're twisted good, make sure they laid down in the direction that you're going to tighten. Use the force, may the force be with you, to go in here and shoot that right in there. Let me get that twisted down a little more. Shoot that right around there. It's a little difficult. You got to be a little bit patient with it. Sometimes it takes a little persuasion to send it around the bend there. And we'll go ahead and tighten that first one down. Clamp that really good. And then we'll go ahead and we'll shoot this on the other side too. It's nothing like real time, huh? The excitement of real time here. Real time in the shop. I so hope this thing works well, because it's a really nice piece of equipment and it's really essential if you're going to repair audio and TV. And a lot of my friends in the community, the AV, the vintage audio video community, they do a lot of TV work. Okay, and when they do the TV work, they like to have these signal generators work. These not signal generators, but these signal tracers. And like I said, it's kind of old school, but they work well. We'll pop this back in here. Get that back in, and we should be pretty much good to go. There we go. Now we've got a good solid connection on that, so let's go ahead and plug her in and see what we get. Okay, one of the things I like to do is bring things up slowly on the variac, the voltage, in case something's a little screwed up or something. You can hear now we got a really solid connection on that. Nothing's going to happen on that now. This has a little germanium point on it. So this should be able to carry, it's got good volume, good output. It's got the speakers on. Got a couple phases here. I know this looks like mad laboratory stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get some kind of unit that's not going to be super dangerous. I wish I had a small transistor radio. I don't, but I don't really even have an FM receiver that's sort of open, but we'll get something set up here. Bear with me. Won't be demonstrating today. I opened it up inside, and we have we have a broken ground strap here for the unit. We got to check that, and we've got to also check this crystal diode. You can see that little looks like a clear, it's like a germanium. This is almost like a crystal radio, this thing. So it's very important that work right. And also the tip for the probe was disconnected too. But well, I hope in a future video to be able to demonstrate it after I undertake a few repairs, because it's really a useful piece of equipment for testing and running signal all through, from the detection stage through the antenna, through the first RF the tube to run it off to the first radio frequency, and then up to grab that signal and move it on to the right audio frequency and the intermediate frequency out the cans here. So yeah, it's going to be a very useful thing, and of course I'll explain a lot of that stuff, but I'm very happy to have it. But as most things here in the shop, it is going to need a bit more work to make her go. Welcome back, guys. A bit of good news. I think I've got this thing working. I did a few spot repairs on it. I had to put a new crystal diode in it, but I now have the Packard Bell radio turned on, and the volume is very low. And what this will allow me to do is I probe along. These things up here are called output intermediate frequency transformers, and these ones on the outside here, you can see them up here. There's a 1, 2 up here. They're taking a signal in, and they're amplifying that in stages. They're grabbing a certain FM frequency, like a pilot frequency, and they're using that to do something that's called well, it's kind of complicated with super heterodyning. You're mixing two signals in here, and you're feeding them through these output cans. So this is a good way to test and see if the signal, you can trace the signal through. And we'll go look at the first can here and check the signal on that. See if she's coming through.
Jimmy Haslip plays bass for
coming through just fine there.
Novelas.
We check the other side.
KJZ.
See, that's a much diminished signal over on that side. I'm doing this side.
Habits fit into your
Listen to that side.
Original certified market for fresh local produce.
And I have a real drop in signal with it.
Ranchers who raise quality at the market.
Yeah, see, I think we got a problem with one of these cans. May have the silver mica disease.
Beef, chicken, and pork, quail, and rabbit. These are
That other one's doing a good job down here.
belly goat cheese. Sampled a wonderful.
I don't think we need it quite that loud, do we? So I think we've got a problem in here. This multi-stage FM. It's really a weak signal.
Yes, for savings during the
Good signal.
Today's telethon at every Hansel dealership. Over 2,000 new
That's a little
vehicles.
weak.
Honda, Lincoln, Mazda, Subaru.
See, that signal should definitely be boosted
Or choose a factory.
a lot higher. I'll try to turn this around and put some light on it here without upsetting the whole apple cart and electrifying myself here. This is the bottom of the cans here. I don't know how well you can see them through that nest right there. We have two stages here. A first one up here, and then a second one down here. So I just want to probe in here. Check that first stage coming in. Thing is really sensitive.
It's here on KJZ. Compliment to wine country dining. Join your host Troy Duran every Monday through Friday here on KJZ. Kick back.
Now, if we turn this signal generator off and we turn the radio up,
Peterson, Herbie Hancock,
you can hear how much lower the volume is
and many others.
on that. I mean, that's cranked all the way up.
Help you ease into the
right
evening,
there.
Monday through Friday, 6 till 8 p.m. on K.
And I turn that down. Let's turn this up again. We'll run it through down here. You can hear. Got a good strong signal on that side. Got a tiny signal coming out to the final output tube here. Good signal coming in. Small signal coming out. So, what the signal tracer tells us is, and that output stage is okay. And on this side we've got another. Listen to it coming in here on this stage. Now listen to it on the output side. On this side over here. That one's okay actually, but this one, good and strong coming in. And then listen to it. So what we've got, guys, is what's called silver mica disease, and I'm going to explain that to you now. And let me turn this thing off. Let me turn the power off to the unit here. These intermediate frequency transformers, as I said, they're tuned to a certain frequency on the FM, so that you can get a signal to modulate around your. Pardon my camera work. I'm turning this up again, and this is what it looks like on top. You've seen them before in radios. These little cans on top, and these ones in the front have to do with the AM circuitry. Okay. And these ones here have to do with the FM circuitry, and they have adjustments, screw adjustments. You can probably see them on the top. And later on we'll be using the oscilloscope here to tune these, or do what's called an alignment on it. But for now, I've been concerned, as I just demonstrated to you guys, why am I not getting the power through? I'm getting great on AM. AM is fantastic. Turn this on a minute. Set that up again. I think I lost my antenna connection here, but let me put that back on. You don't even have to hold it on it. Pretty cool, huh? How's that for inductance? Huh? That's a good demonstration of inductance. Like I said, that's cranked all the way up. It's no good. But when I go to FM, listen to how strong and how loud that's in.
Presidential campaign meltdowns. More losers in the Carolina Panthers blue and silver rooting section at the Caesars Palace.
So when we pop her on FM, we've got to have the volume basically all the way up. This is the same on FM. This is a dual AM FM station, KSRO in Santa Rosa.
Because it's Vince Lombardi.
So obviously there's something going on in the signal path that's causing this problem. And because I've changed out the capacitors now, you'll see 1, 2, and there's another one inside the can. Because I've changed them out, the filter capacitors, there's nothing wrong with the caps. These are bypassed now. But I suspect that one of these cans has the silver mica disease. So what is silver mica disease? These cans are designed, they have, if you were to take the top off of one of these, you would see a coil inside of it, very tightly wound with very fine cloth cover coppered wire. I mean, it's like less than a cat's whisker for. And if you were to unravel it, it would probably be the length of a football field. And that coil, at the base of that coil, has on both sides, because remember there's 4 feet on this thing, there's 2 inputs and 2 outputs on it, and it has a couple little capacitors that are made of silver mica that go across the legs, across 2 of the legs, each of the sides, across the 2 legs, this tiny little teeny tiny, usually 100 picofarad, 30 to 100 picofarad capacitor that lays across those feet. Now over time, that silver mica migrates off of that piece of mica, the silver, and it degenerates, and as a result you don't have the carrying capacity that you had in terms of taking the signal and moving it on. And I think that's the problem we have right there with one of these. That's why AM works great for output. It is loud. I'm pulling in stations like crazy. But when it comes to FM, I'm losing the signal along here, and this little signal generator was able to audibly let me know where the signal was weak and where that signal was booming through strong. So, you know, you have something that's called a schematic here. And that schematic is just really a visual roadmap that tells you where the signal comes in to the unit. And we can see here it comes through the FM, and it goes into the first stage radio frequency amplifier tube, and then it goes into the it goes over into the these cans here. Here's the first. We have two for the FM set at 10.7 megacycles. It's like a resonant frequency these things have to be set to. Now, if you look here on the schematic, and I know this is intense, and a lot of you are going to turn this off now, and that's fine. I mean, this is not the fun, glamorous part of rebuilding work. But if you look at these cans by design, this is inductive coils on here. You'll see a symbol on both sides that looks like 2 dashes across a line. Well, that's a symbol for a capacitor, and that's where the silver mica is between the legs there. And I think on this this particular unit up here, that has migrated, and we have what's called silver mica disease. This is the cans for the AM side. The resonant frequencies 455 kilohertz, we called it kilocycles back then, and we have 2 of them, and you can see the bottom view like I was talking about here with the 4 legs on them, and it has a little color dot, so if you take the can apart you can get it back to the proper alignment again. I'm going to call it a day, but this certainly shows you demonstration what a signal tracer is all about as I probe through various points in here. You can actually trace the signal all the way through the various components and through all the stages. We keep going back to this unit here. very weak. So we're getting the signal in here, which is okay. But when we get out the other side, we got hardly anything. And you have to run this thing on full power to get the signal out of the tracer here. Because if I turn this off a second, you can hear that's all I get out of that. So very interesting. So this this demonstrates today, guys, some of the more, well, time-consuming parts of restoration and repair, taking a schematic and just tracing a signal through from beginning to end through its various stages. And when you use a signal tracer, you're going to likely find a point where the signal breaks down, and I think it's within this this can here. This can here that I think the first intermediate frequency, first IF can. Actually, this is the oscillator, I think. In here, is this the oscillator? The 12AT7 oscillator. In here, it's actually the FM mixer coming out of the FM mixer. So I think there's something wrong in there. So I'm going to have a look at that that section in there. I'm also going to do a more thorough double checking of the two first IF amp and then the second IF amp here to check them out. That doesn't mean a lot to many of you. I know it's a time waster Friday, but it was a good chance to get the HeathKit signal tracer working, which is working well now, and a very cheap price. I'm very happy about that. And you also had a little bit of a demonstration of how you can actually trace a signal along. Now, one thing that you would do, normally you wouldn't run the unit here and tracing a signal through with AC coming in and running hot like that. You could just input a signal from, say, an MP3 player or something. It doesn't have to be a big signal, but this doesn't have an MP3 or other input, so I'd have to hook up, you know, like this frequency generator I have up on the top here. You can see it right there. That FM AM signal generator, and I could actually inject that signal in there and do that. And of course, that's a much safer way to do it. Today was just a back of the cuff sort of way to just show you about signal tracers and the way they work. So I want to thank you for being along today. Kind of a fun and different thing, and for the vintage geeks out there, I think you probably saw a little something new and a little something cool. Thanks so much for being along, guys.